Hello, everybody. I want to go ahead and just dive right in. So, this was inspired by a question that someone wrote in recently. How do I meet quality men when I'm an attractive person over the age of 50 without any baggage? And I want to say right off the bat that no matter how old you are, 40, 50, 35, right? Okay, let's just be real. We all have baggage, and your baggage might be emotional, past relationship wounds, relational trauma, childhood trauma, an invalidating parent, an invalidating ex. Another person's baggage might be they've got a wife that, or an ex wife that they still have to co parent with, that may give them a hard time, and they've got to pay child support, and they've probably got some emotional wounding from going through a divorce process. The first thing that you need to be aware of is that we all have baggage. I'm going to talk about some of the three, just highlight three traps that I see a lot of women getting caught into, snagged in, that are stopping them from truly being available to attract a healthy partner. And then some steps or some ideas to start shifting this deeply ingrained pattern. Because if you are honest with yourself, and most people who come across this content have never had a truly healthy relationship. And when you've never truly had a healthy, fulfilling relationship, the issue isn't about where to find these people. It's about you. So let's just keep it direct and honest. The common denominator in all of these situations is you. So the first thing that you may be doing that is unconsciously keeping you off limits for a healthy partner is that you're numbing yourself. What does numbing yourself entail? Numbing yourself could be keeping yourself chronically busy with your job. I was talking with someone recently who had never had a healthy partner, same kind of wounding and heartache and trauma inside the walls of her intimate relationships, hadn't been on a date in years, hadn't had a serious relationship in a number of years. And the way that she filled her time was through work and dedicating herself to her career. And she built a successful career. But at the end of the day, her life was imbalanced because that was all that she had going for her. And I see a lot of women doing this, and I've been guilty of doing this myself. When you have relationship wounds or trauma from past relationships, we tend to avoid anything that may re-trigger that wounding. And one of the ways that a lot of people avoid is by being a workaholic and staying chronically busy. And in a sense, in so many words, keeping themselves emotionally unavailable. So if that is one of the things that you're doing, realize that there's only so much work that you can do. And when you're working yourself to death, and you maybe not to death, but when you're spending a lot of your time living a life that's largely imbalanced, you're essentially just continuing the same pattern that you had when you were in a relationship. So if you were in a bad relationship, it probably consumed a lot of your time, and you were likely living a very imbalanced life then. And so if you just transfer yourself forward into the future, you no longer have that relationship anymore, but you're still living an imbalanced life. So the issue isn't about where to find these people. The issue is about overcoming your relational trauma wounds and about healing those properly, and about widening your window of tolerance to rejection, to abandonment, to vulnerability. A lot of the people that I work with initially are very terrified of opening their hearts and being vulnerable again because they've been hurt so many times in the past. But in order to attract a quality person, you have to become that every single day. And nearly 100% of the time, the people that we work with here are not that. They are scared, they are numb, they are apathetic, they are just going through the motions of life. So much so that becomes all that they know how to do. They become comfortably numb. And if you had to ignore your intuition and change so many aspects of yourself to fit in a marriage or a relationship that you knew early on wasn't right for you, you're really good at comfortably numbing yourself out. So the first trap is to look at the ways in which you are numbing yourself. If it's not work, it could be numbing yourself with a glass of wine every night, dulling the emotions. Most people live every single day, whether you've had a bad relationship or not, in a state of chronic stress, living in a state of fight or flight mode. We're the most addicted, burnt out, overly medicated, tired, stressed out, disease ridden society ever in the history of humankind, right? So if you are numbing yourself, understand that can only get you so far. It's a coping skill, it's a coping mechanism. It's not a healing pathway forward. The second thing that you might be doing so just going along with numbing yourself, I see a lot of people chasing achievements. So I work with high achievers, and high achievers tend to be, or overachievers, I'm going to use that interchangeably. There was a psychiatrist one time who said that the number one tell that somebody had a narcissistic parent or an emotionally unavailable parent was that they grew up later on in life to be an overachiever. Why? Because they never felt good enough. And if you're a hardworking, career driven woman and you've never felt good enough about yourself on a deep level, that may have caused you to have a lot of drive and motivation. Unfortunately, we don't attract what we are on the outside. We don't attract, right? If you have a successful career, you're not in it, you've got a great home and you've got a great social circle. You're not going to attract the qualities that you display on the outside in your life. You are going to attract somebody who matches your deep internal belief systems and the deep internal, likely trauma programming that you have that you really haven't addressed yet. So if you find yourself chasing achievements, chasing goals, never fully feeling satisfied, and you wind up in unavailable relationships where you're constantly chasing, this time it's going to be better, this time we're going to get it right, that is a pattern. And that has nothing to do with the people in your life. That has everything to do with you and the beliefs and the possible relational trauma that you haven't fully dealt with yet. So you're always going to attract somebody who's a compatible match to your own wounding, like it or not. So chasing achievements is another way that people numb themselves out. People pleasing is another way that people numb themselves out and keep themselves emotionally drained. Saying yes when they mean no, feeling afraid of hurting people's feelings. So I want you to look at the ways that you are numbing yourself in your life and draining your energy. Quality men are attracted to energy. And if you're just going through the motions and you're not truly happy in your own life, but you've got the success around you, you've got the business or the career, you've got the home, you've got the kids that are going off to great colleges, you're the house that your kids' friends want to come home to after school. You've got these things externally going on, but inside you feel unfulfilled. You are going to attract somebody else who may present on the outside like they're your knight in shining armor, but underneath they don't feel unfulfilled. And of course, whenever we look outside of ourselves to take away the void or to fill the void inside, it's never a lasting solution. It always goes downhill, and we always come right back face to face with our unhealed stuff. So the other thing that you may be doing that's keeping you locked in a holding pattern, asking yourself, where are all the good men out there, is prematurely judging people. So I was talking with someone recently who said she had exceedingly high standards for the men that she dates. This was also somebody who never had a healthy romantic relationship. This was also somebody who hadn't been on a date in many years, hadn't had a semi-long-term relationship in a long time. So when you find that your standards are really high, so first of all, there's nothing wrong with having high standards, right? But when you feel like you're just completely avoiding dating because you have written the story that there are no good men in my area, every man that's over the age of 50 near me has a lot of baggage, or online dating sucks, or it's full of narcissists. If you've written these types of stories, the real issue here is that you are judging other people prematurely. And we prematurely judge other people for a few key reasons. The first thing is that if you're prematurely judging other people and you have exceedingly high standards for people that you date, and you look at that with some context, like you've never had a great relationship and you have been avoiding dating for a long time, if you look at those exceedingly high standards, one of the reasons that may be is because you have exceedingly high standards over yourself. You are likely unreasonably hard on yourself, and you are also judging yourself. So, whenever we judge other people, and listen, it's 2023, we're 3 years post pandemic. You turn on the news, basically a big shit show out there. We're not in a pandemic anymore, but there's a lot of pain in this world. Okay. So there's no shortage of opportunities to judge other people, whether it's politics, whether it's your stance on gun laws, whether it's school shooting, whatever the case may be, there's no shortage. But when you find that you're not meeting the right people, you keep chronically meeting the wrong people, or you're not meeting anybody at all because you're not even opening yourself up to that possibility, and you think that there's no quality men out there, that everybody that you're meeting has a lot of baggage, like I said before, and I'm saying this with a lot of compassion, you also have baggage. We all do. Okay. So that's just a given. The second thing is that you're probably judging yourself, and it's never about the other person. It's never about moving to a different location. It's never about getting on the right dating app. It's about honestly and compassionately looking at yourself, at the ways that you are blocking yourself from feeling love every day. You don't have to have a partner to feel love every day. You don't have to have $1 million or $100,000 in your bank account to feel abundant. You don't have to have perfectly sunny days and your house is perfectly clean. You've got the right boss and the right coworkers and the right kids. And you don't have to have these things externally lined up for you to feel happy and for you to feel love. Love is something that you can create from the inside out. And when you do that and you properly overcome the blocks, which are often trauma in your body, in your mind, that are blocking you from that, then the people start coming forward. I once had a client who said, I got asked out at a tire shop. You literally can get asked out anywhere, right? You can get asked out standing in line pumping gas, and it can come in a way that throws you off guard, that you didn't expect, because your energy is different. Judging yourself, if you're finding that you feel that there are no good men in your area, look at the ways that you are judging yourself, being too hard on yourself. If you've got exceedingly high expectations, people who do this, number one, judging themselves, they're exceedingly hard on themselves, but people often do this unconsciously as a trauma response. They don't trust themselves. They don't trust other people. So they unconsciously build up a lot of qualifiers and barriers in place to test people, to make sure that they're not going to railroad them. They're not going to sabotage or betray them. And when you live your life like that, essentially, it doesn't matter how hard you work or how much money you have in the bank account, you're essentially living a really small life. So no amount of men, quality men, dating apps are going to change that for you. You have to change that inside you. You have to create that feeling of love every day. You have to create that feeling of happiness every single day. So let's talk about how to do this. So first of all, if you've never had a great relationship and you find that you're stuck in chronic busyness, we call this in my work your emotional home. So your emotional home may be set to apathy, to numbness, to frustration, to anger. This may especially be true if you're several months or a few years outside of an unhealthy relationship. I once worked with someone who lived in a smaller community, not a small town necessarily, a smaller city. And it had been four years, I think, since she left her ex. He was dating somebody new. And he still occupied an enormous amount of space in her mind because she couldn't quite get over how he treated her. There were and it just occupied a lot of space in her mind. And so her emotional home was in a place of victimhood, not just around her ex, but around her work environment as well. She always felt people turned to her for solutions. She was a problem solver solver at work. She was really good in her career, but she constantly felt like she was being treated unfairly, that people were walking all over her. And she lived in a state of depletion every single day. And when you live in a state of feeling like a victim, when you feel like life is unfair, when you feel like there's no good men your age, when you feel like, you're going to be alone, when you live in these like anger, shame, victim identity, your brain and your body get programmed to look for scenarios unconsciously that match your emotional home. So there's a saying I once heard by one of my mentors that people who feel like the victim are going to attract an abuser because they're a complementary match. The victim feels like she needs somebody to rescue, and the abuser feels he or she needs to find somebody who has not a lot of confidence in themselves so that he or she has a longer runway to manipulate somebody. So changing your emotional home, often for people with relational trauma, means using a trauma-informed method, which is a mind body method, and learning to recondition and retrain yourself to feel at peace. So it's just, first off, feeling neutral every day, just finding some inner peace and inner quiet every day, getting out, breaking your addiction to that fight or flight response. Here in Break the Cycle, we use somatic therapy and trauma sensitive yoga, which are both evidence-based for rewiring your brain and your nervous system out of avoidance behaviors, out of codependency, out of beating yourself up, out of ruminating about your ex. So we give you proven strategies to rewire what you're thinking and what you're feeling. So you're no longer automatically feeling shameful or frustrated or apathetic. You're instead feeling hopeful. You're feeling optimistic. You're feeling excited. You're feeling happy. You're feeling in love with your own life. The second thing that needs to happen once you start changing inside is, naturally most people start to change the choices that they make, but we want to do this in a strategic way. So widening your window of tolerance. Like I said before, if you've got past relationship wounds, you may get comfortably numb, working yourself, being a workaholic, fixing other people, staying chronically busy, and then feeling like you're missing something in your life. So one of the ways that you, in addition to changing your emotional home, is to start widening your window of tolerance and getting out of your comfort zone every week. I have my clients take themselves on dates every week, and not just dates like I'm going to go sit alone in a dark movie theater and not talk to anybody. Dates where they've got to get dressed up, go take themselves like they were going to go meet their soulmate, and get dressed up and be in public and do something that's at the edge of their comfort zone that scares them a little bit. Because when you're at the edge of your comfort zone, you have the opportunity to work with those feelings of self-judgment, of possible rejection, of feeling like an outsider, of feeling uncomfortable. You have the opportunity to work with those feelings in a healthier way. And when you have healthier skill sets to emotionally regulate that are not numbing coping skills, you learn to change your behavior in the moment. This is why a lot of times I work with people that have been in therapy for a long time and they've gotten some logical insights, but they don't know how to apply what they're learning in their real life. And they stay stuck and they continue to make the same dysfunctional choices in their relationship. This is also why books are good, YouTube videos are good. This is good information, but it doesn't yield transformation necessarily, because transformation requires you to get out of your comfort zone, and in many cases, far outside of your comfort zone. And I can tell you from firsthand experience, the clients that see the best results here step far out of their comfort zone. Some kind of trauma-informed method to emotionally regulate, elevate your emotional home, change how you're feeling regardless of what's happening on the outside of your life, and then systematically stepping out of your comfort zone every single week to widen your window of tolerance to life. When we have past relationship trauma, we don't trust ourselves. We don't trust our ability to take healthy risks. We certainly don't trust a lot of people. And when you don't trust yourself, it's inevitable that you're going to stay stuck and you're going to live a small life, no matter how hard you work on yourself. And the other final thing that I want to share here is if you find that you're constantly asking yourself, where are the quality men? How do I meet these quality men? The question is not necessarily how, like I said before, because you can jump on a dating app. There like 40% of Americans meet their soulmate, their significant other on a dating app. So are there downsides to dating apps? Absolutely. It removes the emotional risk, the emotional intimacy factor. A lot of times it's a dime a dozen, right? We're so accustomed to swiping, just removes the human factor. But is it still a viable option? Absolutely. The biggest attractor is yourself, and specifically your energy. And if you believe it's impossible for you at this age, you're right. That's what you're going to continue to manifest, is more situations that cause you to believe that it's impossible. You are, as Abraham Hicks says, the vortex, right? And if you've never had a healthy romantic relationship, it's highly likely that on a subconscious level, you have always been believing a good relationship is not possible for you because you subconsciously believe you're unworthy, you're not good enough, or that you're unlovable. And so, in order to change this, change what you're getting on the outside, you have to fundamentally change who you are being on the inside. And that looks like breaking your addiction to numbing yourself, to workaholism, to blaming your ex, to blaming people on dating apps, to blaming the men in your city, and looking at how you are holding yourself back. So if you are over the age of 40, if you've never had a healthy romantic relationship, if you're successful, you try to take your mind off of the fact that you don't have anybody in your life by being a workaholic or distracting yourself and numbing yourself to your feelings. And you know that what you're doing isn't leading you to satisfaction. It's not leading you to daily happiness. You may be still thinking or idealizing your ex, right? Your ex from the past. If you know that what you're doing is not working for you, and you've already done a lot of therapy, you've already read the books, you're doing a lot of things, you close that gap, but you still have a gap, and you're ready to feel happy every day. You're ready to feel confident. You're ready to attract a healthy partner. You're ready to overcome the relationship trauma in you that causes you to subconsciously sabotage love and connection. Then I invite you to book a free breakthrough call. Go to bethanydotson.com/talk. We'll have an honest conversation about changing your life and learning to co-create a healthy relationship by getting you to be love every day. Even if you're not ready to date yet, maybe you just exited a narcissistic relationship, you need some recovery time. Maybe you're fresh out of a divorce and you're really wanting to find and rediscover yourself again. A good relationship has to mean that you have a good relationship with yourself. And if you're numb, if you're disconnected, if you're constantly thinking, what's wrong with me? If you're constantly beating yourself up about why did I stay? If you're constantly believing a good relationship is impossible for you, the relationship you have with yourself is not one that's stable and likely one that's not conducive to attracting a partner that's a match for you. So if you're ready to become that and stop doing things that distract you from that, I invite you to go to bethanydotson.com/talk, book a call, and we'll have a very eye-opening conversation about what's not working for you in your love life, what you really want, get you a lot of clarity there. If we can help, we'll invite you in and show you what that looks like. Have a beautiful day, and I will talk to you all very soon. Take care. Thank you for tuning in to today's show. A brand new episode drops each week. Be sure to click and subscribe. And remember, healing trauma, codependency, and your lifelong pattern in love does not happen by itself. You need expert guidance and evidence-based methods. And I have helped hundreds of incredible women from all over the country heal betrayal trauma and reclaim their confidence while falling wildly in love with their own lives and attracting healthy relationships. If you like what you heard today and you want to see if you're fit to work with us, go to bethanydotson.com/talk. That's bethanydotson.com/talk and book a call to speak with us today. We'll get on the phone for about 45 minutes and get you crystal clear on 3 things. The real reason you keep attracting dysfunctional relationships, even if you know better or even if you've done tons of work on yourself. What you really want in a relationship, how you want to feel emotionally every single day in your life, and what lifestyle changes you want to make. And then number 3, the exact strategy you need to be using to get there. Again, healing trust issues, codependency, and a lifelong pattern does not happen without expert guidance. We've helped hundreds of women across the country heal complex trauma, codependency, and have the healthiest relationships ever, both with themselves and with others. Go to bethanydotson.com/talk to book your call today. I'll see you on the next episode.